name still remains Francis, and today I'll be introducing us to JavaScript programming, and I would like us to pay attention. So I'll be giving us the basic of JavaScript programming and how we can use it in our web pages, and a few basic things today. I'll be showing us the things we'll be covering for this JavaScript training. Alright, I believe you can all see my screen here. So here, someone would like to ask me a question like, what is JavaScript? JavaScript can simply be put as web programming language and the most popular programming language. So we use JavaScript mainly on the web page, and it's one of the most used web page programming language or web development programming language. So, and it's important for any web developer to know it. Without even JavaScript, it's as if you don't know anything about web design or web development. And the first thing I'll have to discuss with us is how can we link this JavaScript code to our web page. We have two ways of linking our JavaScript to our web page. The first one is internal script. What I mean by internal script, it just comes to your body tag. Inside your body tag, just below your script should be the last thing in your body. Then you just write your script tag here. Then you do this way. So any JavaScript code you want to write, you can simply put it inside the script tag. So when you are running your web page, it will run anything inside this script together. This is the internal method of linking a JavaScript to your web page. So another one is external linking. What if I don't want to be writing my JavaScript inside my web page like this, and I want to be writing it outside my web page? How do I go about it? There's another way of doing that. Let me just go right up here, or anywhere you want to put it, you can put it anywhere. I can even put it here. Let's say I put it here now, so I can have so now here, instead of using the normal scripts without the src, then you use that same script tag. The only difference that will be between the two is just that when you look at this one, I didn't add src, that's the source, to this guy, but because I want to link it to an external file, I have to provide the directory to the external file, and that's why I put src here. So inside this double quotes here, then I will put my my external nick there. So let me remove this. Okay, let me just collapse it a little bit. So alright, I think this is much more feasible. So now let's say in my JS folder here, I have a file called my JavaScript. You can call it anything. My JavaScript.js. So this is my JavaScript file, and I want to link it to this web page. So what I will just do is inside there now I will specify the direction or the directory to the my JavaScript file. And how do I get that? Now this HTML file is actually outside the asset folder, while our JavaScript is inside JavaScript folder inside asset folder. So that means that I'll first enter the asset folder, then move to JavaScript folder, then the name of the file, which is my javascript.js. So with this now, we successfully link our JavaScript file to our HTML page. And the same thing, at the same time, if you want to write it directly, you can actually do it here. Okay, let's quickly see the difference. Now, to write anything in your web page, you have about 3 options. To write anything in your web page, you have document.write method. This one we write into the entire web page, and we even clear anything on the page. And this one too, we have alert method, and we have console log method. So the first one we'll be using now is document.write method. So let's quickly see that. So now the word document represents the structure of your web page code, your HTML code on your web page or your web page interface. So now .write, so this will write to the web page, this current page we have now. So and what I want to put there now, when you look at this suggestion that our VS Code is giving us here, is actually telling us that what this writing method is expecting a text and should be string, and we can even put array of string there. So which means that the type of text we are putting there is actually confined to array. Probably by now you don't know what is array, but that will be explained later. So what I mean by string is any text in between double quotes is called a string. Just like I put this guy in between this double quote, it's actually a string. So now I can put anything here. Let me just put hello world. Hello world. So now this will be written on our web page if we run it. Can we see that? Hello world here. All right, so that's how to do that. And okay, what if we now decide to be writing our code from the file? You know, there's nothing here, and instead of doing it from the web page directly, you want to do it from a file. Now I've removed it from here and I will paste it here and save it again and run it. Mind you, we've already linked this file to our HTML page here. So let's see if it will still show. Oh, better still, let me change the text so that it won't look as if nothing is changing. Hello world from moon, and let's see if we actually see that. Can you see that? Hello world from moon. Now that shows that what our file has been successfully linked to this web page. So we'll be going about that on and on. Okay, now another thing we can use, instead of using this document.write method, we can as well use something we call alert. This alert method takes anything, either variable or a string. So but for now I want to display something, and let's see how it will appear. I'll comment this out. Now in JavaScript you can as well comment out a particular place or add a comment to your code, just like we normally do in HTML page and CSS. Now to write a single comment line, okay, let me just comment this. Okay, to write a single comment line, you use // and you write something like let's say output, sorry, output, what am I typing here? Output JS code. Now this output JS code is actually a comment, and it will not be part of what I want to display on the screen. So let's save that and see. Let me comment this out too, so that it will not be part of our code. Okay, I've saved it. You can see that you are not seeing the comment. So the comment is just a way of telling yourself what you are doing, why you are writing that particular code at a particular time point in time, or probably if another person come to continue the code or do something on your code, you'll be able to understand what you are doing. And that's the essence of writing a comment. And let's say you want to write a comment that will be more than just this straight line, this single line. You want to span to other lines, maybe it's much, so then you use a type called multi-line commenting. You can see that. So what you just do, you write your // one // then double star, then after that, that's asterisk rather, double asterisk, then your VS Code will actually complete for you. But so in case VS Code doesn't complete for you, so to complete it, you just put your asterisk and / again, and it will close the comment line for you. So, and if you forgot to put this other guy there, you see that all the code will be comment out and you won't see anything. Your code, just everything is fainted. So the best way, you just always close it before you even write anything inside. Now I want to write a comment inside. This is a multi-line comment method, just a way of writing a comment in a multi-line method. And I can put another thing here. This is to output a code on a web page. You can see now I quickly wrote something about this guy and what this guy is doing, the document.write method. Alright, so I said there's another way of outputting something on the web page without using document.write. So let's say I want to write something here. Hello James. Hello James. So this guy here, we alert on the page. Let's see what happens. You can see that the way this guy appears is actually different from the way document.write appeared. And I click OK, but it's not showing anything here. Why? Because this alert function, it will just pop up a message for the user, and that's all. It won't directly write on the web page. So that's the difference between this alert and document.write. So that's that. And another one is what I call console log. Now this console log has console itself has the many method, but this console log method is being used to log things on the web browser console, and you will see what I'm talking about now. So let me say hello Mac. Now this hello Mac, if I should run this code now, you see that you are not seeing anything on the web page and you are not seeing any pop-up. Then where is it? Where am I writing to? How am I going to see the code output? Then what you just do is that you right click on your web page, you inspect it, then at your right side there you see different tabs. We have console, source, network, and many more. Let me even expand it so that we will see the option there. So we have performance, network, memory, application security, lighthouse, and many more, recorder and the rest. So but the one we're just interested in now, for now, is just this element, console, source, probably network layer. So this element is the one that will display your page code. This is the code we have in our file. Can you see that? There's a code, and don't forget this is our JavaScript script. You can see that this is our code. So this element will display the page code, while this console here will show anything you log. Can you see that this is our log hello Mac is showing under the console tab here. So if I should add other things to this guy, maybe I declare another one again, and I said I love seeing this. So this guy now will not also be displayed on our web page, but under the console. You can see that I love seeing this. So these are the three ways you can actually output your message to see anything you are doing, either on the web page directly or on the console directly on the console. All right, let's quickly change another thing. And then as well, you can even use the three together. It will not conflict each other, but they do, because they actually output message in different way. So let's see how it will work. You can see that the first one is the alert method, hello James, then your document the right here, and your console log here. All right, now there's another thing you have to take note in this console.write. Let's go to our web page, and sorry, let me put a comment here, and this comment is external linking of external method to link JavaScript to HTML. All right, so okay, so now let's write something on in our web page and see. So let me just write our just normal 8 header tag. God is good all the time. So this is our message now, and let's see what will happen. For now, I'll be commenting this guy out and all the function here. All right, let's run it and see. Now I'm not displaying it on the console, that's why we're not seeing it. God is good all the time. You can see that we have this guy display here. All right, so let's see the effect of alerts on the web page. Let's run it. You can see it still display hello James, but it's not affecting our text here. Okay, so let's comment that out. Then let's see our console log. I'll comment this and run it again, and see we see our console information here, which is still the way it is. Then let me comment this guy out too. And let's see our document.write, and now it will affect the page. Document.write, you can see that hello world from it actually write to our web page directly right below this guy. All right, so this is how you can actually output your information to the web page. All right, so now after this, another things you have to know is the how do you even start writing the code. And okay, before then, let me quickly do this. How to get, okay, let's jump this guy here. Let's jump this guy. So now, how do you start to write your code? You have to understand JavaScript statement. And what do we mean by JavaScript statement? Let me add it, JavaScript statement and variable. So now in programming, there's something we call variable declaration. And what is variable declaration? um, like, how do you tell your compiler or your program or your computer that okay, you want to save something on the computer, you want to store something on the computer. Now your computer has a lot of memory to save data, and you have to tell computer what you want to save and as well where you want to save it. Now mind you, all the information saved on your computer has is a unique address, and those address, they are not a kind of things you can memorize or know in their true sense, but there's a way you can actually define the address name yourself. Take for example, in your house you have different section where you keep things, and you assign different name to all those places where you keep sensitive informations, so that when you probably you just maybe you have a roommate or you have your siblings at home, or you guys, you use a coding language, something like you just form up yourself to discuss, like, okay, this, when I'm telling you that you go and do this is what I actually meant. So in case a visitor will be around and I want to get you to do something for me, so I'll just tell you do this, and when you hear me saying that, I mean you should go to this place, just like a code language. So now the same thing with your computer. The address you are saving or storing your information on your computer memory, you want to give it a specific name, so that next time you want to get those data out, you will just call the name you assign to that memory address on your computer, and it fetch it out for you. And that is what we call a variable in programming. And this variable can hold different type of data. We go get to that later. Okay, in JavaScript now we have three ways of defining a variable. That's what we call a statement, variable statement, and you can use let keyword. Now, what do we mean by keyword in programming? Keyword is actually a word that has been in use or is being used in that programming language to do a particular thing or to represent a particular thing. And those keywords, you can't use it for any other thing again other than what they've already defined them to be. So now this let keyword helps you to define your variable within a block code. You get to understand what I mean by block code later. So we have what we call local variable and global variable. Local variable, okay, so we have let, and I want to define my variable now. Let's say variable name should be age. So meaning that I'm telling my system that I want to store an information that has to do with age, and it should name the memory address age. And at the same time, maybe I'm now saying I want to get name too, and I write name here. So I'm telling my system that I want to save an information, name information, and I want you to name the memory address name, and this is what is called variables. Let me write a comment here: variable declaration. Now what I just did here is what we call variable declaration. I'm declaring my variable to the computer. And now what does computer do with this? Now computer will allocate a memory for these variables, because computer already knows that they will be holding the data. And another way of declaring a variable, if you don't want to use this let keyword, is to use what we call far. Now this far in JavaScript is another way of declaring your variable, but the difference between this far and this let keyword is that far keyword, when you declare it with your variable, it will make the variable value to be available anywhere in your code, and that's why it will make the code the value of the code, the value of the variable to be global variable. So this age now, it means that anywhere in my code I can call this age variable and still be able to access it. But this let variable here, name, I can't get it in any other part of the code because it's only expected to be used within a code block. And the third keyword we use to declare a variable in JavaScript is constant. You have constant, and what does constant does? When you want to declare a variable that you don't want the value to change whatsoever for any reason, take for example, you want to declare birthday, or should I use birthday? Okay, let's say what can I use? Okay, anything at all. Let's say position. Now position is a keyword, and you can see that the VS Code is already underlining it for us. So let me call it another thing like post. It's a keyword, so I can use this one. Let me say student position. All right. You guys wanna know? All right. Now, student position is a variable name. Now, the reason why you are seeing it in different color aside from the fur and let is because of the code extension I'm using. Now, when you declare a constant variable, you have to assign a value to it. And when you assign a value to a variable, you use equal sign, then the value you want to attach to it. Take for example, I'm adding 1 to it, meaning that what I'm telling my computer to create a space to store this value 1, and name the address, and I'm naming the address to be student position. So if I want to get this one value now, I'll just call this student position and it will turn this value for me. Now the importance of this constant keyword is that what you can't change this student position value again to any other thing. You cannot change it. Now what I did here now is variable declaration and initialization. Variable declaration, variable declaration and initialization. So what I did here, I declare a variable by doing constant student position, and I also initialize the variable. What does initialize means? You give your variable initial value, and that's where the word initialization comes in. So and I initialize the variable with a value called 1. Now, but for these other guys here, I only declare them. I didn't initialize them with any value. And I can also declare them and initialize them with value. So now take for example, you want to now add value to this age later. You don't need to be doing var age and maybe 45. Now this will not actually you don't need this again, and this will result to an error because you've already declared this variable age before. So what you just have to do is to call the age directly. You can see that age, and you assign the value to it 45. All right, now for the name, I'll just write name directly because I've already declared it here. So I think name is actually a keyword, but nonetheless let's use it, and that's why it's underlining it. Let me just change it to something else. Student name. So the reason why it's actually underlined is because name word is actually a keyword in JavaScript, so it's not expecting us to be using it as a variable. So all right, now student name, I just declare it here, and I want to initialize it here to be John Doe. All right, so now this is what the value of this variable student's name, the value. And beautiful things about all these variables is that what I can swear change their value later. Let's say I say age equals to 31 and student name equals to maybe John. Now when you are looking at the way I'm writing the code, you should be observing something that what at every line, at the end of every line, I always added a semicolon to my code. So that's expected of you when you're writing your code. Always remember to add semicolon till at the front, at the end of every line. So it's actually a good practice. Though in JavaScript, if you don't do that, you will still be escape with that. But by the time you will be porting to another language, you always need to know this, because some language they actually straight with a semicolon at the end of every line. All right, so now you can see that what I changed the value of this 45 to 31 here, and I changed the value of this student name to maybe John here. Why? Because this guy is actually a variable, like the value can be changed, and that's why it's even called a variable in the first place. You can change the value. This guy, the name, the variable name, just an address to where you are storing those values. And now the value that I put here, this 31 now has replaced this 45. So which means that if I want to get the value inside this age now, it won't be 45 again, it will just be 31. And if I want to get the value in this under this student name, I won't get John Doe again, it will be maybe John. And that's how this variable you can actually replace it.
But for this constant variable here, you cannot come down and want to add, give it another value. Take for example 5. It will actually result to an error, because here you've already declared the variable to be constant, and constant means that what, under no circumstance will this value change from one to any other thing. So you can't change this value again because it's a constant variable, and most time we use it to ensure that nothing changes our variable data at the runtime. So that's why you need this constant variable too. So I can't change to this one. This one will result to error. This one will be very wrong. So you don't do this. All right. So now, how do we even see the value inside these variables, or how do we use it? Now, mind you, we already have 3 ways of outputting your code on your on your web page. So now, what we'll first do, I'll comment this guy out, and we'll see the effect of. Let me take this up so that we'll be together. So what I did, okay, let me just go down here. So I want to output the value, our age value here. Mind you, this code I've already commented them out, they are not active again, so it means that nothing's happening here, just as if they are not inside my code. So I want to log now the value of our age, so I'll just put age. Now this is a variable, and if you want to add a text to it, you can as well remove this guy, sorry, and use your double quote to write a string. Let me say student age is, so then in front of it I'll put comma, then I'll put my variable age. Then now mind you, okay, let me just run it and see what happened. Can you see that our console is our student age, then what, the variable is undefined. Why is it showing us undefined? Because we don't initialize this variable with a value. So now let me uncomment this and see how it will happen. So now for here, now I've initialized the value and the variable age with a value called 45. So this is what we call variable initialization. It's not having a value now. So let's run it and see what happens. You can see what the value is now. What the student age is 45. So which means that what is working. All right, it's working there. So now let me now uncomment this and see what happened. Now just observe this guy that is 45 initially, and this position I change it to 31. So let's see what happened. If it's the page, you can see now student age is 31. Why? Because it's variable. When you give it another value, it will replace the old value in the story, in the system memory. It will replace this one with 31. So this one is not existing any longer if you replace it with 31. I believe that's clear. So for the name also, you want to display the student name. So you can as well, okay, let me comment this out. You can as well just come to this place and write student name. You can see that it's variable, so save it and run it. You can see student age is 31 and the student name is undefined. Why is it undefined? Let's check it out. Very good. Now the reason why it's undefined is this. The student, when you look at the spelling of my variable, is student name, but when you look at the spelling of what I type here, T is missing at that position, which means that what this variable, I have not declared this variable at any place, at any point in my, sorry, I did I actually declared it here, so which means that I use a wrong spelling here, so which means that what this guy is not having any value, so I will be correcting that spelling here with T, and that should be okay. Now we have it John Doe. Can you see that? All right, now let's assume that, okay, let's say you made a mistake, and instead of closing this double quote tag, your string, and you now I forgot it and close it here, what will now happen? You can see you are not seeing the age and the student name value again. You are seeing the variable name. Why? Because when you put your variable in a quote like this, in a string, it will not see the value, it will just see it as normal text, and that's why you always have to put your variable outside a quote so that it won't be seeing it as normal text. All right, another thing is maybe you want to even add another text here, and let's say and student name is, then you put a comma here. So let's output it and see the changes. You can see that student age is 31 and student name is John Doe. I don't know why I keep forgetting the T. Okay, let me read this guy. All right, now, so this is how you can actually you can use other outputting method to display this guy. And now let's replace it with a Mibel name. And all right, let's save this guy and check it out. Sorry, let me complete this guy. Okay, and you see that that John Doe has been replaced with what? Mibel John, because at this point we declare that variable again with a new value. So this is how you declare your variable with what? A keyword, either var, let, or constant, and you assign your value to it. You can see that. And at the same time, you can even declare and initialize at the same time. Maybe I can just put this one to be initial value to be 0 or anything, and I want this initial value to be John Doe, this guy here, so that anytime I want to use the variable, it will not be telling me, it will not be showing undefined. Can you see that? So this is another way of declaring your variable and also initializing it at the same time with a value. And when you do that too, it will still work. Student age 0 and student name is John Doe. That's the value we give to it initially. So this is how you declare your variable in JavaScript. Don't forget, we have variable, var, let, and constant. That is clear when you are declaring your variable and when you are initializing your variable. I think that's clear enough. Okay, there's other way you can actually take, for example, instead of putting this comma. Okay, let me just not go there. All right, this is how you can declare a variable now. So let's go for other things. So that's what we call JavaScript statement and variable. Then the next one is data type. Data type. What is data type? What is I want to use multi-line comment here. What is data type? So in JavaScript, all programming language, they have their data type. And I would say data type is not even only specific to programming language, it's actually about your computer, how computer store informations. So there is a data type in computer. Just like in your house, you have where you keep your water, and you have where you keep your food stuff, where you keep your shoe, where you keep your clothes, and everything sectioned out in your house. The same way computer love to section out informations, because when you want to fetch your water, you don't want your water to be pouring in your food stuff or your clothes, so you don't actually put your water close to your food stuff or your clothes. So the same way computer want to section the data you are storing in the right direction, and for quick access to those data, and let me say for fast recovery of those data of a thing. So computer wants to store your value or information in the right way with the right information. So that's why you always need to know the computer needs to know the different data type you are saving with your variable. So now, though in JavaScript you only use these three keywords to declare a variable, but it's good to know that even this value you are assigning to your variable, they are called different things, and computers see them differently, and it actually processes them differently in while storing it. All right, we have about 6 to 7 data type, more than that anyway. So the first one is int, and this int actually means integer. And what is integer? Integer in mathematics just means a whole number, which could be a whole number. That's an integer, which could be either negative, it could be either negative or positive. So, and that will range from maybe minus to maybe -1, or minus infinity to plus infinity. But the thing is just that it must be a whole number. It must be a whole number. It must be a whole number. It must not have a decimal number. It must not be decimal number like 1 point something, 0 point something, 3 point something, and just make it is a whole number. It can -1, -5, minus 78 minus any whole number, but it must not be 1 point something or 2 point something or 0 point something a decimal. So that is integer, a whole number. So the next one we have is a float. So this float type of data type is one that holds a decimal number. So this is actually used for decimal number. And we also have, mind you, integer is also a number, so we use it to represent a number. So here we also have another one called, though it's no more, though this is actually, this one is not pronounced in JavaScript, but it's still available. We have double, and double is actually a higher value of our floats. Let me say higher precision for float type, for float data type. So this for double, so which means that if float is turning 1.1568 as your value, then the double can return something more longer. So this is just the difference between these guys. It has a higher precision more than floating of a thing. All right, and we also have another one called char. So this char, see, not pronounced more like that in JavaScript, but you see part of data type. And this one is just to store a single character data type, just a single character. So what do I mean by that single character? Let's say you just want to display A, so A is just a single character. H, any character, any letter at all, they are just a single character. Even your normal symbols, just symbols like heart is a single character. Even your one, you can see declared as char, is still a single character. This is what we call character, and it's called char data type. And we also have the one we call string. So string data type is actually a string of character. So what do I mean by string of character? When you join many letters together to form a word or to form a sentence, that's actually, excuse me please, that's actually what is called a string. An example could be like the way I type the name John is a string, and if I can even separate it with John, let me say John Mark, this another string. So the string is always inside double quote. When you are declaring your string, you have to put it in a quote. So when anything you put in a double quote like this or a single quote, the system will see it as what? As a string. And when you declare just a letter inside a quote, system will see it as a char. And when you are declaring your integer, you don't need double quote to declare integer, just type it directly, just like we did here. Now the system know that when you are declaring student position to be 1 here now without a quote, you already know that what this position variable is holding an integer value. The same thing with your age here. This age variable is holding an integer value because you are assigning an integer to it, a whole number. Then the same thing with student name. And take for example, you want to add score. Maybe let's say let score variable, and you are adding something like 2.56, or maybe that is not realistic. Let's say something like a weight 2.56 or 5 points, anything. So when you are declaring it, when you are declaring your variable in this way, you actually the system will actually see this weight variable as a float type of variable, that this float is holding a floating type data. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. And also we have another one we call byte. Though this byte is not mostly used also, but it's being used a lot for those people that do core programming very well, but you won't be seeing this in JavaScript. Just this are just telling you how you can recognize different data type you are declaring and you are saving to your computer. Then another one is called Boolean. So Boolean data type is a type of data type that returns just true or false. So this one can only take true or false, and you can still declare it. Let's say I want to declare a Boolean here, and I write let's status. Let's say online status now to be what? True. So anyway I want to use this guy, I can't put this string here, John Doe or number, into it. I can only use the word keyword true or false. because now when I use false here or I use true, now the system will already know that what this online status is a boolean variable and not a string like student name, and not an integer like age, and not a float like weight. That this type is a boolean type of variable, and the system will save it as a boolean data type. So you have to get that right. Another thing about boolean data type is that what true is the same thing as 1 is equal to 1. So if I declare this guy to be 1 here, it can mean an integer and can mean a boolean, depends on the way you use in your code now. So 1 can also be the same thing as true. Why false? Let me comment this guy out. Okay, let me remove this guy from here. So why false? You can also use 0 to represent false. False can also be 0. Why true can also be the same thing, is the same thing as 1. So anywhere you want to use true and you put 1 there, system will still see it as true. Anywhere you use false and you put 0 there, system will still see it as false. So these are what is called boolean. Then the other type of data type in JavaScript is we have object data type, and this object data type takes key and value, and it's always inside this curly bracket, and you have to declare your key this way, then followed by colon, then followed by the value you want to assign. An example of this is something like this. Let's say student name, that's the key, and the value will now be the name, Mark James. So this is the value of this student name as the key now, and the all of this bracket together is called an object. All right, so this is how you declare that. And we have an array data type. So array data type can hold many, or let me say multiple data at the same time. Now mind you, this object can also hold multiple key and value variable. You can add anything to it. Maybe you want to add age to it, and the age should be 56 here. So you can add multiple inside it. The same thing with array here. The difference between array and object is just that an object take keys and value, while array just take only your value and not with the key, and it's being denoted with a square bracket, while the object is being denoted with a curly bracket. So for the array now, I can declare array of many number, anything, just put it. Now this is an array of values of number 1 2 5 6 7 8, just like we have set in mathematics. And it can be array of integer, array of any data type. So array can be the value inside array can be of any data type. You can even have array of string like names James, then after this one you put another one Mark, then after this you put another one Joy. So this is array of string, while the first one is array of integer, this array of string. Then you can have it in different data type, and you can even have it mixed together even in JavaScript. So these are the type of data type we have: integer, float, double, jar, string, byte, boolean, object, and array in programming language. I hope this is clear. Alright, so let's proceed with our coding. Alright, don't need that again. So that's our data type. So I'll be abandoning this side of the code, and I want to use this internal scripting. It's the same thing, but I want to use this one to be writing now to the JavaScript to our web page. Okay, so now we've learned how to declare variable, we've learned how to initialize variable, and we've learned different data type, and how system actually handles them, because systems store those data type differently, or using different logic to store them rather. Okay, so the next thing we are learning, let's just use this, how to get a response from user. Okay, we talk about displaying something in your web page, and we talk about how you can write a variable. What if you want to get a data from user? I can use this guy now, but not to get you confused. Let's see, continue with this guy here. Okay, let me do something now. Now I want to declare a variable to get a response from user, and this particular method here, we have prompt and we have confirm. I'm using prompt first. So this prompt now so I want to get the result from, because prompt in JavaScript is actually a method that take two parameters, just like I added here, a and b. So it actually take two parameters, and the first parameters is so let me just write it out for you here. Let's user response. Now mind you, this user response that I type here is just my own description. At my own description, I just choose to use it. You can use any word you like. User response, that's my variable name. So I want to get the return value of that prompt method. You can see that. So what's the message and what was the value you want to get? So let's type something here. So what's your name? And let's try and run this guy and see what happened. Then we'll log the value because we are expecting this prompt method here to return the response of the user back to this our variable. I want to log the results in our console. So say user response is, then we put our variable here, user response variable here. Alright, so let's load, refresh our web page. You can see that. So it's expecting us what? To enter the name. And I say John. No, let me use another thing now. Francis. Francis Mark. Okay. Can you see that? User response what? Francis Mark. Which means that what? We can actually get a response from user and use that response to do something in our web page or in our code. And at the same time, we can even write it to the web page directly. Let's write it to the web page directly instead of logging it. You can even do the two together. So now we use document dot write, and I will write your name. You said your name is, then I put my variable here. Then another thing is that if you don't want to be using this comma, and like this document, right, you can even use comma. You can concatenate your variable with your string. And how do you concatenate it together, especially string together? I will use plus sign to join them together. Now this is my string here. I want to join it with another string variable. This is our string variable. Now I'm joining it with this string that I wrote here. Now we use plus sign to join them together. That's what we mean by concatenation. So let's save it and run it again. So let's put something here. Joy. Can you see that? Hello from Moon. You said your name is Joy. All right. So this one is actually what is interfering with what we are doing. Let me come here. So now another thing you can even let's try and put a tag like our HTML tag inside our variable here. Now I want to put my h2 tag, and I want to add, you have to always close your tag in HTML. So I want to put another string here that I can put my closing tag there, h2, so that all these text here can be inside my tag. Now the reason why I added this one to this because this one is already a string, so I can put my h2 tag here, and because this guy here is not a direct string that I can add my h2 tag to, so I have to declare it to be a string here and write it out, and join them together using this plus sign. So let's check it out. Mark Joy. You can see the way it appears here, meaning that what you can even use it to display your whole web page and everything will be working. Okay, what if I want to write it as a variable and display it here? All right, let's do something. So now I want to declare a variable. Let's response to be now I have told us about denoting our string with double quotes, and mind you, I can as well use single quotes. Even instead of this double quotes, it will still do the same thing. It will see it as same thing. Now for string, if you want to denote a string in your coding, there are three ways to denote a string for system to know that what you are actually declaring is a string or other data type. We have single quotes type, how to how to initialize. Okay, let me just use the word denote a string in your code. So you can denote it with, like I have it here, let's say response. Now you can denote it with a double quote, and let's put this guy here. Okay, I would like to remove this guy first. So I want to denote it with you are doing well. Then this is string, and at the same time I can change this guy to single quote. It will still work. If I should put it inside here now, it will still write on our web page. So let's see. I don't want to take a response for now, so let me comment this guy out. Oh, an error call. User respond is not